Hello, Wasteland! Yes, welcome back, brothers! That's right, we are here to look at Gaslands UK's Car of the Month competition for September 2023. That's right, I'm your host, James Hall of JH Miniatures, and this episode has been kindly sponsored and brought to us by Fran Mendoza over at Camsel Designs. So, just before we get too far into this, can we all give a massive post-apocalyptic shout out to Camsel Designs and the wonderful array of bits that they have been providing us for the last 5 years, boys and girls. Oh yes, that's right, today, this month, this is their 5th anniversary. Oh yes, they are a household name at this point. I know they need no introduction. You know who they are. They have been making some of their finest 3D printed parts and accessories. So what can I say? So, thank you once again to Camsel for providing prizes for this month, which, with a sponsor like this and a competition like this, you know that your boy's gone above and beyond. In first place, chosen by your very own admin team, a £30 gift voucher for the Camsel Design web store. In second, a £20 voucher for the web store. And in third, a £10 voucher. Oh yes, so £60 of prizes. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Fran. Let us talk about the theme from this month. So, to celebrate 5 magnanimous, outrageously amazing years of running the web store, Fran wanted us to use the theme of High Five for this month, which is about as open-ended as you get. I mean, you think back to May when we had May Day as a theme. At least there were a few directions you could take that. This is about high-fiving. This is, this is slapping hands together. What can I say? But you guys, you have gone above and beyond, and we have had some entries that just run the whole spectrum of variety, and it has been fantastic to see. So, without any further ado, let's take a look at everyone who entered this month. So this month we have had 20 finished entrants. 20 finished entrants. My goodness, you really have gone all guns blazing, haven't you, boys and girls? From the top, we have Daniel Mumford, David Bousset, David Traves, Hardo Pius, Ingvar Niebsen, Jody Sims, John Martin, John Simpson Wedge, Jarell Bessie, Kev Williams, Matt Morrill, Matt Taylor, Matt Whittam, Nava Fishman Shari, Nick Kitch, Odd Jobmod, Richard Hubbard, Shane Hurd, Tom Whittam, and of course your good friend and mine, William Burke. And so let us start this month off strong, my brothers, and talk about the one, the only, that dastardly devil of the wasteland, your friend and mine, that's right, Kev Williams' entry from this month. Oh yes, and Kev, I think, has just perfectly captured that image that we all have in our minds when the term high five gets thrown around, and that is, of course, 2 cars, a tag team, coming together, drivers and passengers, with these enormous foam hands that he's made out of green stuff or modelling putty or something like that. And what can I say? This is it's just so silly. It's so daft. This month you're just going to see some real daft and silly builds, aren't you, my brothers? It's not going to be a super serious one. But what can I say? This is really cleanly done, which I appreciate is a bit ironic considering how rusty and dirty the cars are. But the actual execution here of the theme is just real tight, Kev. What can I say? I think the foam mitts, I mean, come on, how many times in our modelling careers do we sit down and go, right then, for this build I need to make gigantic fake hands to stick on my little guy's arms, like... It's just such a rare situation, isn't it? So yeah, they're gonna be a bit wonky. They're gonna be a bit, maybe they could have been a bit smaller, or the shape's a bit harder to find. They're a bit less sort of foam finger and a bit more sort of oven mitt, aren't they? But what can I say? You've got the dual colours there, the blue and the green. The rust is on point, but I think where it loses it for me is when you look at like the big SUV with the twin heavy machine guns coming through the headlights. the body panels, other than that main body panel that goes around the whole thing, that's actually part of the casting. It's two separate parts that are stuck, like riveted together. Like the actual body panels, the separation all around the door panels, and you guys know how much I love talking about door panels. You know, it just gets lost. It gets lost in the wash. It gets lost in the weathering, and we kind of see this in a few other areas. Like the engine is beautiful on that open top like Corvette. That's wonderful, absolutely wonderful detail there. But the stowage on top of the SUV, like, mate, they're just solid blob colours. Like you've got this sort of off beige, you've got brown, you've got a green, you've got the black of the ammo cases, and that's it. But look at the actual molds there. There's detail, there's straps, there's little latches and opening points. Like, mate, you could pick those out in silver or brown or black, or you know, something just to add a bit more life and dimension to those parts, because they're asking for it, aren't they? What can I say? An absolutely rock solid build for this month, Kev. And as I said, just perfectly captures the feel, the spirit of the high five. But if we are talking about two cars high-fiving, how can I not talk about my boy Tom Whittam's entry for this month? Oh yes, and all the little things that I've just said to you, Kev. Look here, look and see. This is where it is. This is it all coming together. I am somewhat saddened that there is not a cow on the dioramic base, but you know, it doesn't. It's not really big enough. It would be a bit too close to the wheels screeching cars, wouldn't it? The actual builds themselves are just, you know, nice and clean and simple. The bare metal body with just the single blue, you know, racing stripe. It's a bold look, but I just feel like some of those panels could be pulled out in a different colour, or maybe just have one of the cars where the side panels around the wheel arches, you know, just the sides are that solid blue, because you'd still see them as a team. You'd still see them as a pair, what with the shared logos and the giant foam hands, which I, for the life of me, can't think of where those are from, because those are really nice. Are they like beads? Are they like like when people make those friendship bracelet things, is it like something from that? And you've just repurposed them for the waist? Because whatever they're from, they're really nice. They're really good, and they just perfectly fit into this. The arms that you've had to make, and those are homemade arms. Like, I can see that must be like a bit of paperclip and some modelling putty around it. They sell the illusion of people sticking their arms out. They're fine. They're a bit long, you know. At times you look at it and you think, well, in proportion to a person, that'd be like a leg coming out of the side of the vehicle. But mate, Tom, this is good stuff. I like this. As I pointed out last month, you are going places, my friend. Oh yes. And can we point out for this month, doing two builds at once, that is no easy task for the people that decided to sell their souls to try and achieve this. You know, because as we say at the beginning, this month you can enter two cars, but you will be judged on both cars. So, you know, just doing one for a month is difficult. Doing two, mate, love it. Absolutely love it. I think some of the rust around the armor paneling around the front windscreens, absolutely solid. But then the rust kind of paint effect around the wheel arches and around the lower body just doesn't work as well. It's very much, there's a sort of dirty wash on and that's it. You need some scratches, you need some dings. Look at the engine bays in the back. They just sort of, the shapes and the textures will blur together, because although you've picked some pieces out, it's all just one colour. Like the armour panel, you look at that one on the left there, how the rear windscreen armour, that is the same rusty colour as the engine parts, like, and it shouldn't. They should be different. And it breaks my heart, because you look at the diamond tread armour plate, improvised armour on the hood of the car next to it, and that is a different colour and shade of rust, and it's like, so you could have done that, but you didn't, because it's the time crunch, isn't it? But no, fantastic stuff. Just absolutely fantastic stuff, Tom. Love it. Love to see it. And if we are talking about cars high-fiving, how can we not talk about when everything goes wrong and the two cars get a little too close? That's right, we're talking about the one, the only William Burke's entry for this month. Oh, yes. William, my boy. I love it. I absolutely love it. Look at the carnage here. mate, you have gone above and beyond with modelling on this battle damage to the two vehicles, haven't you? And I'm not just talking about the beautiful sort of shattered glass windscreen on the blue car on the side there, right? I'm talking about all the crumpled up body panels and all the putty work that you've had to do into this to make it look like metal that has deformed from this tremendous collision of just two cars coming together. They weren't aiming for each other. They were aiming to high five, but sadly one got a little to the left, and here we are. But mate, what a great entry for this month. As I say, that glass effect on the blue car is just the highlighting there. I know it's just some simple like white paint over the cracks and some streaks, but that just works really well. I think where this entry falls down a little bit has got to be it's the lettering, it's the decal work, mainly because there are no decals and you've done it all by hand. And it's a little wobbly and it's a bit shonky, and the wrong way sign on the truck, I love it and it's legible, but it works for the truck. It doesn't work so much for the blue car, because you look at the V's on the doors and you just think, oh, it'd be so much nicer if it was just a decal, because that one's the blue car, the sort of Pursuit Interceptor, that sports car, that's got a bit more of a deliberate manufactured feel to it, like the design work. Oh yes, this has all been sort of thought out. The rusty truck, you can get away with it all because it's hammered together with bolts and bits of string. But yeah, some decals would just look so nice on this. I've got to say, the touch of the driver coming out of the truck, smashing through that windscreen and taking the windscreen with him, that is a work of art, my friend. You've really gone above and beyond with this one. Oh, mate, so gory and visceral. But this is what we love about the Wasteland. There's such a sense of motion, isn't there? Because I think this is the thing when we imagine two things coming together. Well, you see accidents in real life, and they're not anything to joke about. But there's a lot of motion and movement in areas of a vehicle that you don't really expect. Like, you've got the engine on that blue car. It's coming out the hood, isn't it? It's literally being forced up and out from the impact. And I think that's a nice touch. But mate, what great work, William. Love to see it. Absolutely love to see it. And back to your good old self. What can I say? This is the level, this is the quality that we've come to expect from you, my friend. Oh yes. And after William, if we're talking about cars coming together, how can I not talk about one that just completely slipped under the radar this month, catching us all by surprise, myself especially. I'll hold my hands up to this. I did not see this. Matt Morrill's Mexican luchador wrestling, combo team here, with the extra special bonus, which, as I say, I never made this connection. What Matt Morrill has done is, through the magical power of neodymium magnets, has made it so that these two cars completely come apart. They separate from one another, and then can be stuck back together, so you can have the back half of one and the front half of the other. Now, the logic in the Raceland is that you can, in the middle of a race, you can use the not damaged parts from one of them to fix the other, so to speak. But I get crazy Robot War sort of Gemini vibes from this, because at the end of the day, you can technically drive a car with just the front end, so the engine, the driver's seat, the steering, transmission, all that. You can just drive it from the front end of a car. You don't need the back end if that's not where the engine and fuel tank and all that is, right? So you got this wonderful image there showing us where the magnets are and how it all goes together. But it makes you wonder, that the front end of that green car, and I suppose the front end of that the orange truck, you could just have those as the builds. And there is the absolutely satanic possibility of the Rutherford cut and shunt front end of one and the front end of the other. Mate, I love it. I absolutely love it. What an idea for this month. I don't think anyone had, oh yes, and Matt Morrill will enter two cars that can be broken apart and stuck back together in a variety of interesting and entertaining ways. I don't think anyone was betting on that for this month. Or the Mexican luchador theme, which I've said it before and I've said it again, my friend, I love your painting, but we have got to talk about the silver work, and we have got to talk about the fine brushwork. Now, when you're trying to paint on these sort of Mexican mask patterns, they're never going to be easy. They're always going to be difficult trying to do like wings and streaks and things all freehand. That kind of work is hard. But mate, you have got to stop doing one pass of silver and calling it a day. It is not enough. You're not even dry brushing. This is an overbrush of silver and then calling it done. Mate, you're either picking the details out in silver or you're not. There's no middle ground. You have to do at least a second pass and then put a wash on it. I've always maintained a wash would really make your builds come to life, and it could be simple. Just get some black paint or some brown paint, some dark brown paint, mix a little bit of water in there and a bit of dish soap to break up surface tension, and you're done. Just put that on selectively around door panels and connection points, and it's solid gold. Like the front of your truck. Oh yes, and as always, I cannot wait to see what you come up with for October's Car of the Month competition. And now it is time for something a little different, I think, because we've touched on all the builds that kind of they kind of make sense, you know, they're cars high-fiving. But what about other interpretations of five, right? Of the high five. So what about John Simpson Wedge's entry for this month and his enormous space station of international rescues, Thunderbird 5? Oh yes. John, what on earth is this? I mean, can we just point out, and this is so easy to miss, the actual base that this stands on when it's fully assembled in this giant colossus that barely fits in your photo booth, right? That little base is actually a little diorama of cars racing in the Wasteland. I mean, look at that. You've got these teeny tiny, you know, micro machine scale vehicles going around this gigantic racetrack and flying off a ramp. I mean, that's fantastic, and it's so easy to overlook because you've got this enormous space station made out of bloody, you know, cable protection piping and a hubcap and, you know, all this junk, all this recycled rubbish that ordinarily we would throw away in our day-to-day lives, bottle tops and bin lids and all this kind of stuff, and yet you've used it here to make this enormous airship, as it were. I mean, I get the feeling that the centre's meant to be an enormous sort of fan to sort of keep this in the air. And then you've got another build of Thunderbird 3 built around a little VW bug, which is on sleds, on skids. That is just, you know, an accident waiting to happen because that's like an intercontinental ballistic missile chained to it, which is just divine. I absolutely love that, and all the weathering, all the salt weathering effects you've done on there. Beautiful. And then finally, to top it all off, you've got two guys actually high-fiving on the Thunderbird 5. Like, mate, how does your mind work to put all of these strange and disparate elements together? Part of me wonders if going into this month you just wanted an excuse to make some Thunderbirds cars, right? Because I do wonder, because we've seen Thunderbirds cars before, not from yourself. We have seen them this year, and I do wonder if you've got Thunderbirds 1, 2 and 4 in the pipeline now after making this. I mean, as a build, there are some aspects of it that they sort of rub me the wrong way. Like, you've got these great big hyper-futuristic laser guns that look like there's something from Star Wars or Battlestar Galactica or something. Like, they look like Cylon weapons. They don't look like something that have been found and made in the Wasteland. It's got a little of the Destroy All Humans sort of UFO feel about it, which can work, but it's just, it does feel a bit... Some of these things are in scale, some of them aren't, some of them make sense, some of them you think there is no way that Thunderbird 3 in this configuration would ever be able to dock with that safely and effectively. It would just be a disaster. But we can't overshadow the fact that this is a fantastic achievement, John. Like the tarp effect alone, just that blue sort of silver paper, you know, effect that you've done. That works really nicely in the areas where it's applied. This is up there as one of the strangest entries we've had, at least this year. Mate, what a build. What a wild build. Continuing the theme of big, bombastic, wild builds, how can I not talk about John Martin's entry for this month and the very literal interpretation of the high five in the giant mechanical hand coming to slap down the opposition during a race? Oh yes. John, what a wild build you've brought here today. I love the fact that you've had to sort of ghetto the actual shape of the truck around this mechanism that you've made. I mean, it looks like you're using lollipop sticks to actually make the structure, but like the wheel arches around the wheels, it looks like those wheels do not belong with that truck because they're so big and chunky, and its actual body dimensions are so small and compact. There is, now don't turn this the wrong way, there is a Bob the Builder sort of aspect to this, isn't there? Because it's very cartoony and bright, and it's all primary colours, and all the angles and shapes are really smooth and curved. But what can I say? It is an enormous mechanical hand just coming to beat the bejesus out of the opposition, isn't it? And I love how there's an element that this actually works, because you see the photos. This arm is moving. It is rotating 180 degrees from one end of the truck to the other. Like this is going to go around and it's going to beat the bejesus out of your opposition, isn't it? Oh mate, what a wild build. What a month. What a month for crazy and inspired builds. I love it. I can't for the life of me figure out what that giant hand is from. It's got to be from a toy or something, because under the sort of the red tarp, sort of rusted paint, whatever that's meant to be, you've got like the suggestion of fingernails on the fingers. So it's got to have come from something. Maybe it may be in the Wasteland. It's something they've stolen from like a wacky warehouse, or from a fairground, or even from a statue of a really big terrifying clown. I will say the trick of painting the front windscreen by sanding down layers of paint, that's something we've not seen before. That's pretty unique there, John, and I do like that. I do wonder about the sort of the long-term effectiveness of that, because that can't be an easy sort of technique to pull off. But oh mate, what a crazy build. Love it. Absolutely can't wait to see what else you've got in store for us this year, John. And if we are talking about giant mechanical hands, how can I not talk about, of course, our very own member of the admin team? That's right, David Bousset's entry for this month. And the giant baseball pitching mitt that he's got attached to a mechanical arm. And I think this really puts the mechanical into that arm, because look at the detail. Look at all the rivets and bolts and pistons and wires and cables and power packs, and I mean just the front end of the truck. If you ignore the giant arm and just focus on the front end of the truck, that armor paneling around the front windscreen and all down the sides, and where the engine piping is, that is the level of work we have come to expect from you now, David. That is some absolute solid gold stuff. My only concern is we are starting to see the exact same armor paneling time after time after time in your builds, and it's always very well thought out, and it's always very well constructed, and it all looks the same. Now, I say this not to be offensive, I say this to be in a constructive way. I would like to see you start to incorporate some actual found, recycled broken bits of toys and plastic, and broken cigarette lighters and bottle tops, and the actual plastic stuff that we throw away in day-to-day life. I'd like to see you start using that as armor panels, because I know I've seen your builds in the construction phase. It is always done by hand with styrene sheet. Now, I know that you live abroad in Belgium, but you can't tell me that you don't have bottle tops and bits of loose plastic, that end up in the recycling week on week. Let's see you take some of that now and use it in your builds, because honestly, in terms of fabricating things from scratch, you have that down to a T. You have that down to a science. But as you can see from the gigantic mitt, and I've got to say, I love the work in progress photos on this, seeing the green stuff and Millie puts, the modelling putty work to get it to this point. But I want to see you stop sort of using 3D printed or fabricated from nice, clean A4 size pieces of flat plastic. I want to see you start using some of the dirty, grungy stuff that the rest of us sort of scrabbling around in the scrap heap have to use. I want to see you start incorporating the lost and found into your builds. So I want to see recycled materials. I want to see bits from model kits. I want to see you take something like a Hot Wheels wheel and tear that apart and use the shapes and the textures from that wheel in a build as armor plating or as components of an engine or something like that. Because, mate, your work is next level, but let's push that bar even higher, my friend. Oh, yes. And if we are talking about giant hands, it would be a shame, it would be a crime if I didn't talk about the work of my boy Richard Hubbard this month. Oh, yes, and his great big animal claw of a catapult, the self high five that he has back on the top there. It's a real weird sort of build, because there's almost sort of aspects of the sort of Robert Oppenheimer Barbie build from last month coming through this, because it's the little guy riding on the claw there with the bomb, and he's ready to fly with it and explode against something. But at the same time, this is its own thing. And I've got to say, guys, when I'm talking about use of decals and alongside the hand painting elements, this is a fantastic example. Look at the 5 on that hood. Look at the stars. Look at the magician's dice on the back. Look at, all the things that he's done by hand, like painting on little stars as well. And all smiley faces and lettering. But look at all the decal work, because honestly, this is what you guys are missing out on. This is the kind of the crisp lines that make all the rusty damage, sort of hand spray painted on stuff look so much more realistic and sort of elevates the build. Now, we do need to talk about one thing, Richard, that kind of gets me, and that's just the difference in scale between those rear tyres and the front tyres, because I love them. I'm always happy to see tyres that are not, stock boring tyres. But mate, we have got to do something about just, the ones up front are so small. They are so small by comparison. They are vanishing under the body of the car by comparison to those like almost monster truck tyres in the back. And if they were doubled up, maybe that would just completely change the feel of this. But besides that, mate, what an entry for this month. Fantastic stuff, Richard. And I look forward to, as always, seeing what else you come up for us this year, my friend. Oh, yes. Bringing this section to a close then, we have, of course, only a couple more to look at. So, shall we have a look at the work of your friend and mine, Ingvar Niebsen, and quite a down-to-earth sort of build. I mean, you see the truck and what looks like a tracked snow plow that he starts with. I mean, I got to say, I was looking at the finished photos of this, and I was going, I wonder what he started with for that smaller, like, buggy that goes up the ramp. I was not expecting that. That has really transformed over the course of this build, hasn't it? And yes, sadly, Standard Wheel Gang is representing here today, because although the truck has got some beautiful tyres, the tyres on that buggy that go over the top are just, they're the Hot Wheels dragster tyres, aren't they? Small and thin up front, and then big and chunky at the back. I'm not a fan. They're a bit plain. I'd like to see you swap those out. But in terms of sort of bringing this back to reality, this is a nice breath of fresh air, isn't it, boys and girls? It is clean, it is simple, it is just a buggy going up a ramp to smash into something underneath it. Fantastic work. And the ramp folds up and lifts up, and you've done some real engineering to get that all sort of compact and working nicely. I mean, it can be simple engineering. I'm not saying you've built a space rocket, but at the same time it works and it carries the effect and it looks good. And I love the chevrons that you've painted onto that ramp. I love the all the little rusty bits of detail. The bright silver checker plate on the windows of the truck cab, they are killing me. That is too bright, too silver. Get a wash on there. Get those shadows picked out, right? Very nice work. I do enjoy it. There's something so menacing about that little buggy that's coming to get you, because he hasn't got a lot of weight to him, but he puts it all at the front like a fist, just coming to hammer down on the opposition. Love it. And finally, my brothers, can we talk about Hardo Pius's entry for this month? Oh yes, and a wonderful take on this month's theme, taking two big top Bel Airs, wonderful Chevy Bel Airs, and just smashing them one on top of the other. A very, very inspired by those couple of Top Gear episodes where they've got I think it was like UK versus Germany and then UK versus Australia, where they do double decker racing. Like, mate, I can see as well, you've painted them in there. You've got, like, the guy on top, he's in charge of the controls, and the guy on the bottom, he's in charge of the engine. Like, what an inspired build. I think the execution here is really nice. I'd love to see a few more rivets in places, because you've just got these bits of armor panel that are just stuck on, but there's no welds, there's no bolts, there's nothing that suggests how they're actually fixed. The washers that you've got around the wheels to change the standard wheels. Come on, guys, it's about changing these builds. It's not about using them straight out of the box. It's, I do like those as sort of like the serrated edge sort of circular saw blades that you don't want to bump up against. I do like the fact that you've used the Games Workshop sort of orc skull in the middle of it to create like this sort of icon for the build. I think that's really nice. I think that works really well. And you got that around the sides. You might not have needed it on the front. I think it probably could have come off the front, but then it's what do you put there instead, and that is, as they say, that is the big question. It's a rock solid build. It is simple, it is to the point. I just want to see some more rivets in the building work, because the paint is pretty good. You've got the separation of colours, the yellow and the red. Yeah, maybe a bit of tape work there to get that line a bit neater. But honestly, considering all the sort of textures and materials and guns and things that are in the way, yeah, that's always going to be hard to get that laser straight, isn't it? That's not going to be easy. I've got to say, it looks like you've even done a bit of modelling putty work around some of these wheel arches, and that's nice, because that adds a bit of character and life to these builds. It looks like these vehicles, this single giant wombo combo of a vehicle has actually been around bashing into things for a while, and I quite like that. So no, brilliant stuff, Hardo. And as always, it is good to see you entering this competition, my friend. Oh yes. But enough beating around the bush, my brothers, because it is time to announce the winner of this month's competition. So, start the drum roll, my brothers, because the winner of Gaslands UK's Car of the Month competition for September 2023 is Matt Whittam! Yes, congratulations, my brother! Welcome back to the podium. What can I say? You have been on an absolute warpath this year, haven't you, my friend Matt? You blew us away in April's Car of the Month competition. You absolutely dominated the competition back in June, and here we are again for the hat trick, the third win of this year. Oh yes, and what can I say? As I mentioned earlier, building one car worthy of winning a month is hard enough, but here you have presented us with two beautiful builds, taking the wonderful theme of high five and making it a little politically incorrect for the boys and girls at home. But what can I say? This is everything we've been talking about up till now, isn't it? The rivet work, the improvised armour, just all the wonderful little details that you've done by hand, topped off by a just jaw-dropping paint job on these two builds. That just is beautifully tied together with the decals, with the numbering, because it's high five, so it's number 5. They add together. Like, mate, what can I say? Well, you put it really nicely yourself, because this is not a motor force patrol car. No, this is a big pharmaceuticals patrol car. And I mean, I think we all know what we're looking at here. He's not got a hedgerow or Christmas trees on the back of his van, has he? No, we're talking about that certain green plant that well, it's when things go bump in the night. But just as an effect, that is really well done. I've got to imagine, have you used like, I know Green Stuff World, they do those little leaf stampers. They're like a little hole punch, but they punch out little leaves. Have you used one of them? Because that is really, really nicely done. But you actually focus in on it, and they're all in that, cannabis plant shape, aren't they? That is absurdly well done as a technique. We've got to reverse engineer this, boys and girls, because we can't sit idly by when you've raised the bar this high, Matt. My goodness. But mate, just behave yourself, Matt. We have never, in this competition's history, we have never had someone win 4 months in a year. Potentially, because this is only September and there are 3 months left. Potentially, we could see Matt Whittam doing a clean sweep. But that said, in the meantime, congratulations, my brother, for a justly won victory. I mean, we are talking unanimous amongst the admin staff, right? I'll buy it. That's a fantastic build, Matt. Enjoy the £30 voucher for the Camsel Designs website that it's on its way to you as we speak. And if Matt Whittam takes first place for the 3rd time this year, then who takes second? Well, as it has been said before, let it be said again that I have an eye for the up-and-coming talent in this competition, my brothers, because that's right, in second place we have the one, the only Tom Whittam for this month. Oh, yes. Ah, yes, Tom, what can I say? Okay, you might be second place to Matt, but that is a titan that you are up against. But what can I say? Some of that magical energy, that juice, it is rubbing off on your builds, my friend, because this is absolutely fantastic stuff. I've already waxed lyrical about how much I like this build. So, as I've said before, and so I shall say it again, enjoy the £20 gift voucher that it's on its way to you, my friend, because honestly, you deserve it, and your builds are getting better and better, and I want to see you keep coming back for more, my friend. Oh yes. And finally, my brothers, in 3rd place, I think looking through the photos, a lot of you could see this coming, because it's just so relaxed compared to all the madness we've seen. It's just so normal by comparison, but it's menacing, and it's a crazy mother trucker, and we love it. And that's right, we are talking about Ingvar Niebsen's entry for this month. Oh yes, enjoy the 3rd place award, my friend, and enjoy the £10 gift voucher that's on its way to you to the Camsel Designs website. What a rock solid entry. What a wonderfully articulated ramp. And as always, I can't wait to see what you come up with for the rest of this year. So let us bring this month's competition video to an end, my brothers, because it has been a long winding road, but we have the October video to look forward to. Oh yes, because that month's wrapped up now, so we'll have to wait for that to come out. As always, a special thank you to this month's sponsor of Fran Mendoza over at Camsel Designs. As always, a massive thank you to all the boys and girls that go into the making of these fine videos and the running of this competition. So thank you to everyone on the admin team, which is of course myself, James Hall, Matt Reeve, Colin Harvard, David Bousset and Darren Phillips. Oh yes. And if you fancy supporting this wonderful competition of ours, why not head over to Big Cartel and buy some of the merchandise. As always, hashtag buy James a mug, because I'm definitely jealous of anyone who's got one of those mugs, because I still haven't got one, and it's been I've been doing this for years. But what can I say? Thank you all for listening, boys and girls, and I will see you all in the next episode. Stay wasted, Wastelanders, and goodbye.